Bro, you gotta warn me when you change things. I'm like, listen to that. I'm like, did I just get put on hold?
Honestly, I think that was an update from StreamYard.
Oh, you didn't do that. Oh,
Yeah.
double dumbass on me. Hi, everybody. Hi,
Hi,
Dr. Nick.
everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick. What's going on?
All you have to do is take this chicken, wrap it on a piece of paper. If it turns transparent, it's your way to get fatter.
Is that from an actual episode, or are you just
Yeah.
making up some shit? Oh, okay.
That was when that was when that was when Homer was trying to get disability by becoming really big.
Jesus.
And he through the encouragement of Dr. Nick, figured out a way to get bigger. Of course, at the end of the episode, Homer ends up having a heart attack and then, finds a reason to lose the weight again.
Word bird.
Yeah.
Since we went on that little tangent, hi, welcome to our show. How's it going out there? This is the latest and greatest episode of the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. My name is Mac. This handsome gentleman over here to my side is Alamo. How the hell are you? Welcome, and welcome.
How goes it out there, planet Earth?
Exactly. You stay classy, planet Earth.
Planet Earth.
Exactly. Okay, so if you're joining the show for the first time, Alamo and I have been friends for a really long time, 20 plus years, since high school. We served in the GWAT generation of the military, slightly different. We both were Army infantry guys. He was on active duty and went to Iraq. I was in the National Guard here in Florida, and I deployed to Afghanistan. So between the two of us, we got all the major stuff covered in one way or another.
Basically.
I hear children screaming in the background. What's going on?
Oh, dear God. Probably just my kids being my kids because they're my brood. So
you're brood. You're rude brood.
Yeah.
Hey, we're doing a show. Take off the ass hats, you ass hats. Jesus. Oh, that's funny. So, we have a YouTube channel. We have this show that we've been doing for a little while. We'll explain a little bit more about that as we get into the show towards the end. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. If it's your first time, if you like what you see or you feel like you've learned something today, please feel free to go to our YouTube channel. You have links there to all of our social media accounts, Instagram, X, Facebook, all the good stuff.
That's right.
Are we on Snapchat?
We're not on Snapchat.
Okay, yet. Good. Well, yeah.
But, again.
You can get on there, and all of our shows, when they go live on Friday nights at 9 p.m., they automatically broadcast simultaneously live to YouTube. So you can go on there and hit the notification bell, hit like, follow, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff.
Comment.
And leave comments if you want. But yeah, so that's kind of what it's all about. So before we get into our show, let's do a little bit of news. So this week in the news, what do we have here? So about that. I'm going to read an actual press release from United States Navy. So wait just a second. So this is dated February 2025 in Souda Bay, Greece. Captain Dave Snowden, commanding officer of the USS Harry S. Truman, CVN 75, was relieved February 20th due to a loss of confidence in his ability to command. Now, for those of you that don't know, Alamo had to go take care of something. He'll be right back. For those of you that don't know, there he is.
Yeah, I just had to yell at my little crotch goblins real quick.
And we're back. Okay. For those of you that don't know, the Harry S. Truman was involved in a ship-to-ship collision where there was damage accrued upon the Harry S. Truman. As a result of that, the commanding officer, this Captain Snowden, was relieved yesterday by...
Not to be confused with Edward Snowden.
No, completely different thing. Nope. No, different dude. So Captain Dave Snowden was relieved by Rear Admiral Sean Bailey, commander of Carrier Strike Group 8, after serving as the aircraft carrier's commanding officer since December of 2023. Captain Snowden will be temporarily assigned to Naval Air Force's Atlantic. It's usually what happens. They get kind of reassigned somewhere else on a temporary basis until they can find somewhere to keep them, to assign them on a permanent basis, or until they say, yeah, your career's done, get out now. The relief occurred after the Truman was involved in a collision with the merchant vessel Besiktas M on February 12th while operating in the Mediterranean Sea in the vicinity of Port Said, Egypt. Or it's Said or Said, or whichever one that is. The U.S. Navy holds commanding officers to the highest standard and takes action to hold them accountable when these standards are not met. Naval leaders are entrusted with significant responsibilities to their sailors and their ships. Captain Christopher Hill, commanding officer of the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, CVN 69, will temporarily serve as the Truman's interim commanding officer. The Eisenhower is currently undergoing scheduled maintenance at Norfolk Naval Shipyard after completing a 9-month deployment to a U.S. Central Command and U.S. European Command in July of 2024. There is no impact to the Harry S. Truman's mission or schedule due to the relief. The Nimitz class aircraft carrier is currently deployed to its U.S. 6th Fleet area of operations. Now, this is not the first. This is actually the second time that the Truman has been involved, has been mentioned in the news recently. Back in, I want to say it was December, an F-18 Super Hornet took off from the Truman, and in the course of that action, the aircraft was targeted and shot down by another ship, the USS Gettysburg, which is a guided missile cruiser that is part of the Truman's Carrier Strike Group.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 oopsies in a couple of months. It's like, yeah, about that. So, yeah, no. So, yeah, that's pretty much all we got for news this week. So.
The oopsies just keep on coming, guys. We don't know what to say.
Yeah.
There's lots of oopsies.
There's lots of oopsies going on. Hold up, Don.
You know what I say?
What do you say?
I say, in the very wise words of Eric Cartman and crew, blame Canada, blame I'm kidding. No, we're not going to do
It's not related, but did you see how? Did you hear about the hockey tournament that they had? It's the Four Nations face-off.
U.S. We won.
Yeah, we won that. Canada ended up winning gold in the entire tournament.
No,
unfortunately, but they booed the national anthem, and then the Team USA came out and said, "All right,
cool.
Here we go. Let's get real stupid."
It's like, hold on, check this out.
They pretty much, in American fashion, said, "Hey, hold my beer."
Basically,
came out there. They had 3 fights under 20 seconds at the beginning of the game. It was awesome. Anyway, not related to the military, but kind of awesome. So we'll leave it at that.
USA.
Oh,
USA.
Last week was episode 101.
Yep.
We are over the century mark and full steam ahead, as we talked about. Last week we talked about direction and why that was so important, especially in a young person's life. You know, we're the big one of the big intersections of, you know, fate, destiny, direction is graduating high school. We talked about that, going in the military. Even if you don't go in the military, options from there, yada, yada, yada. Post-military, wide direction is important as well. So if you want to check that out, feel free to go back. Not certain if that's up on our Spotify or other accounts yet, but you can go back and listen or watch it on our YouTube account.
I am working
You're good.
hard.
No, that wasn't, listen, that wasn't meant to be a dig at you, bud. You're good.
No, you're good. I'm just
it.
saying, like, we've had some.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. It's been a hell of a freaking couple of weeks.
What a damn month this week has been.
Right?
That has never made more sense than like ever since COVID. It's like, good lord. So if you want to go back and listen to that, you can. As Alamo's shamelessly plugging his new mug, the plug mug, the mug plug. There we go. There we go.
Well, hopefully, working with Miss Jenna, I believe her last name is Jenna Frank. Miss Jenna Frank.
Merchandising options. Hopefully coming
Merchandising
soon.
options. Hopefully coming soon.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Stay tuned, y'all.
Stay tuned. Hold on. There we go. That's what I love about these old school fleeces, man. Ventilation for days.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this episode is episode 102, and it is entitled Courage, and we're going to talk about that tonight. It's kind of been interesting researching some of these shows because it's like it's a very simple topic, but then you go down the rabbit hole of research and you're just like, holy shit, like there's a lot of different points you can go. Like it's literally like a roadmap, like a flow chart. We can talk about this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
specifically on this one, I mean, we found like article after article after case study after case study. We're like, holy shit. Like,
and the reason we don't use more of these
down?
Yes, and the reason we don't use more of these articles is because when you read a case study, it's like what 170 something freaking pages. It's like we'll be sitting here for a week talking about this, and we got jobs and other stuff to do. So
now, granted, as we browse through them, which I do, there's some interesting information in a lot of that stuff. The hell of a lot of good information. Problem is, it's just, and for like an hour to hour and a half-ish show, it's just a bit much. So
we try to keep the time respectable, but we don't mind going long when we're talking about important stuff. So
going long.
Get your head out of the damn gutter, who. Anyway, so before we get started, like we always do, we're going to talk about the definition of courage, and there's also going to be a slight little caveat to that. So, courage. Again, this is episode 102 of the Battle Bros podcast entitled Courage. Here we go. Courage is defined as the ability to do something that frightens one. It's also defined as strength in the face of pain or grief. Now, I do want to say that one of the issues, not issues, but one of the things that kept coming up as we were talking about this was the fact that you can't talk about courage without bravery because they're very closely intrinsically kind of linked kind of thing. So
let's just say they're very good bedfellows.
They're very good bedfellows. Yes. Exactly. they've hung out. They've spent the night at each other's place once or twice.
Of course they have.
So because of that, we're going to give you the definition of bravery as well. So bravery is defined as the quality or state of having or showing mental or moral strength to face danger, fear, or difficulty. And then it's also the quality or state of being brave. And you'll see as we get into some of these articles how they're very kind of like you can't talk about one without talking about the other one over here. So
exactly. Yeah.
We'll get to that. So for those of you that weren't in the military, weren't in the Army specifically, so we have, especially in our time, and I think they still do, they have the 7 Army values, which has the acronym leadership. It's loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. So that's also, you kind of get that ingrained into your head very, very early on, like the very beginning.
Right there. Yeah, they probably can't see it, but
it's
because the light. It's the light. I'm sorry.
I have seen the light. It burns. Yep.
It burns like that one time after I went and got to see that one. Never mind.
And it's a live show, and it just got awkward. Yeah.
Yep.
So moving on. How about that? All right, let's read some shit. Jesus. You'd think by now we'd hopefully know what we're doing. We're winging this shit as we
No.
go.
Exactly.
ASMR responses. Yeah, we're winging it as we go. Welcome to the nonsense. Buckle your seatbelts.
Relax.
Tray tables and seat backs in their upright and locked positions. So, anyway, are you over there giggling like an idiot, you moron? Jesus. All right.
Yep.
So the first article that we found was from a website called positivepsychology.com. It was dated 17 October of last year, 2024, and it's called Courage, an Essential Virtue for Authentic Living. It was written by Susan McGarvey, PhD, and then reviewed by
Huey.
Mike Newhouse, PhD. So not going to read the whole thing, but we're going to read a good chunk of it. So some key insights talking about courage. It's about facing fear and discomfort, living a fully engaged and authentic life. The 5 types of courage are physical, moral, social, intellectual, and emotional. And then courage leads to happiness by fostering personal growth, building resilience, and improving relationships through vulnerability and honesty. So, Brené Brown's 2012 book, Daring Greatly, is a sensation. Its title, however, could be seen to highlight a common misconception about courage, that it is all about overt acts of heroism. Yet in the book, you'll find that Brown refutes this misconception by highlighting the nuances of courage and its link to vulnerability. In my work with clients, I too find that courage is more than just physical acts of bravery. It is a complex and dynamic virtue that underpins authentic living. Quote, courage motivates us to face our fears, stand by our values, and pursue over true selves, even when the world seems against us. I often help clients to contact, embrace, and develop their courage so that they experience a fuller and richer life. In this article, we will explore the virtue of courage, its related character strengths, and how fostering the quality can lead to a happier, more authentic life. And that's just a note right there. So, understanding the virtue of courage. Courage is often misunderstood as a grand gesture such as rescuing someone from danger or publicly speaking out against an injustice. While these acts are undoubtedly courageous, the essence of courage lies in our everyday actions and decisions. That's a quote from Pignatelli in 2010. Courage is the ability to tolerate and be with the discomfort of fear, to move forward and live a fully engaged life despite our fear. At its core, courage is about being true to ourselves. It's about making choices that align with our deepest values and conviction, even when it's uncomfortable or risky to do so. Now, if you're able to see this, there's a bunch of different sites where they're citing where this reference material is coming from. I'm just not reading all of those just to save a little bit of time. So we're not sitting here reading all night. But if you want to see them, you can go on and check it out. And again, the article is positivepsychology.com. And we told you at the beginning the name of it a little while ago. So you can go back and check that out. Courage requires us to stand up for what we believe in, to express our true thoughts and feelings, and to pursue our passions even when faced with opposition or potential failure. There are 5 types of courage, and each is essential for personal growth and authentic living. Courage manifests in various forms. Physical courage involves facing the physical danger or adversity, often seen in acts of bravery, like rescuing someone from harm, enduring physical hardship, or putting your life at risk for a cause, as soldiers do. Hi, checking that box. Number 2, moral courage. This type of courage is seen when we have the strength to stand up for what is right, even in the face of social pressure, ridicule, or personal risk. Moral courage is about acting in alignment with our values and integrity, even when it is difficult to do so. So when I think of this one, I immediately go back to my high school time where there was our great friend, mentor, Mr. Bruce Burnham, amazing teacher. He was a history teacher for most of his adult life, Vietnam veteran. He was a military policeman. I took several classes with him. There was a quote. I want to say, I believe it's from Voltaire. Somebody check this, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, and I will correct it as soon as I find out about it. It's a quote from Voltaire that says, "What is right?" Or now I gotta look it up because I'm gonna freaking mess up this quote. I want to say it's a Voltaire quote, so let me just check this out real fast. You know the one I'm talking about, Macho?
I do, and I don't remember the whole quote. But those first couple of words, I do remember that, and I know I'm almost positive. I think it is a Voltaire quote.
I'm looking here. So I should have. It just literally came up.
Now that I think Mr. B actually, I think, has said that a couple times. Well, had said that a couple times in class in the past.
Oh, I think it's. Hold on. I think I got it. I got again live show, folks. We just
on the fly, people.
Damn it. No, he's the one that said, "I may not agree with what you have to say, but I would offend you to death your right to say it." There was another one. I think that's the Voltaire quote that he had up in his classroom. But there was a quote that said something like, "What is right isn't always popular. What is popular isn't always right."
Right.
Yeah.
And who said that?
The hell? I don't know. I'm still looking that up.
That's actually a pretty awesome quote.
It is. It's very, very good quote. I just can't remember for the life of me who said that stuff. I'm like, oh, damn it. And it sucks because, like
when honestly, like, while you're looking for that, I when I think of moral courage, I think, like, there's a lot of people out there that, get up and, face groups of people or just, individuals, whether it's in the workplace or whatever. I think of moral courage being that ability to speak your mind and, kind of stick to what's right in the face of everybody else kind of just going with the status quo. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a great example that's like a great example of personal courage.
You won't ever guess who said that quote. I found the quote.
Really?
The quote says, "What is right is not always popular, and what is popular is not always right."
Okay.
And it's attributed to being recited by Albert Einstein. I thought that was Voltaire. I can't believe I didn't know that.
Honestly, okay. So context. If you think about what time frame Albert Einstein had gotten old in and what kind of research he was involved in the latter part of his life, a lot of people seem to forget that Albert Einstein was very, very involved, but not completely linked to the research that went into the Manhattan Project.
Yep.
So my guess is that the only reason he would have said something like that is because of the results of what came from the research that he contributed to.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. That's a fairly solid piece of conjecture.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we figured out who said that quote. I took off my jacket. It's got a little warm in here. So we're going to move on. So, moral courage, as we talked about, acting in alignment with our values and integrity, even when it's difficult to do so. Number 3, social courage, advocating for others, standing up against injustice, and challenging societal norms, all entail taking risks in relationships and social settings and are examples of social courage. Intellectual courage, number 4, is the willingness to challenge your own beliefs, explore new ideas, and engage in critical thinking even when it's uncomfortable. Now, what I thought of for this one, I would imagine, Alamo, you talked about, when you were taking some college classes and how you kind of felt uncomfortable a little bit just because you were like, what am I doing here? I'm not exactly the
Yeah.
demographic that is in this class and this kind of thing. I would imagine that was probably a little bit of intellectual courage because even though you weren't trying to improve yourself, you were willing to challenge your own beliefs, explore ideas and whatnot.
Yeah.
Even though it was by your own account, an uncomfortable environment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say so. It was definitely, especially even back then, like obviously we're not as particularly divided now or back then as we are now, but even back then it was still very contentious, if you will, to a certain
Yep.
degree.
I would agree. And then number 5, emotional courage involves facing our inner fears and vulnerabilities, such as confronting difficult emotions, expressing feelings honestly, or coping with loss. Now, so reading through those 5 types of courage, there's one movie that I thought of, and it's one of my favorite movies that I think captures or at least touches
Movies,
on.
not movies, people.
I really would love it if you would stop killing when I'm on a serious stretch, and you're like, he said movies, not movies. Okay, shut the hell up and let me talk. God. I love you, bro, but how the hell does your wife put up with you? She's got to smack you in the back of the head with a chancla from time to time, bro. Straight up. Would you agree or disagree with this statement? The
Do it.
movie that I thought of that touched on all 5 of those, talking about, so looking back again, we've got physical, moral, social, intellectual, and emotional courage, standing up to everything. A great movie called Tears from the Sun with Bruce Willis, with
Ooh, yeah,
Cole Hauser is in
yeah.
it. A bunch of other guys. The
Um,
one guy that plays a fire chief on Chicago Fire, that
yeah.
gentleman. Um,
I agree
I
with that.
think
I agree with that wholeheartedly. And honestly, the reason I say that is because and yeah, okay, I get it. It's not exactly the epitome of like super accurate like military blah blah blah. But yeah,
But
man.
that's not the point. I mean, it's supposed to be accurate in a sense because yes, you're with a you're with a group of SEALs going in to recover. They're doing an AMSIT recovery and all this stuff. But it's like put yourself in their shoes. You're trying to do something. You get this information. If you haven't seen the movie, Bruce Willis plays Lieutenant Waters, who is a SEAL commander. He's in charge of a group of SEAls that go in to an African country. I want to say I forget which country it is. But anyway,
I do too.
the whole country is in turmoil and whatnot.
Damn, now you got me wanting to watch that movie.
I'm gonna watch it tonight. Are you shitting me? Like it's such a good movie. I will sit there and I know what's gonna happen. I'm just blubbering because I'm just like, it's so crazy, so tough. But yeah, they go in to get a lady who is an American by marriage. Her late husband was an American, so therefore she's an American. And to get her out of this warring nation that's just going through all this, strife and governmental coups and all this stuff. And they are trying to the lady that they're trying to get, the doctor, Dr. Kendricks, is she only agrees to come out and let them extract her if they bring everybody from the village that's able to come on their own power. When they get to the extraction site, helicopters land. One's pulling security, the other one lands. They only grab her up and leave everybody else out in the bush. So they then find out that there's a group, a faction of this. I guess you could call it not an army, but like It's kind of like it's a
Like
bunch of thugs.
it's technically guerrillas.
It's technically
Yeah.
guerrillas. Like it's their own like
Not
military
the
style
animal people.
faction.
We're talking about the military style faction. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And they go
don't tear up
and
our
they're
context
like,
here.
if you don't follow their beliefs, they're executing people. Like, and it's
Right.
horrible stuff. If you watch this
Yeah.
movie, I will warn you, some of some of the imagery in there is very, very, very dark. It's very
Very.
it's hard to watch because you see like you get a taste for what is actually going on there and in certain parts of the world right now that are
Yeah.
having civil war and uprising, all that kind of stuff.
Human
But
nature is a dark, dark beast, folks.
it is very much so. But the movie kind of comes to a head, kind of everything happens, what happens and whatnot. But it's just one of those movies. And not listen, I'm not trying to ride on the coattails of all the notoriety and all the fame and glory that SEALs are getting. I mean, a lot of guys would argue with that because SEALs are supposed to like not really get a lot of attention, but they've gotten a lot of attention in the last 10 years with
They really have. I would
with
even argue a little bit longer than that.
oh yeah, especially during GWAT. I mean, you had like Chris Kyle, you had Operation Neptune Spear where they took out Osama bin Laden. You had the movie damn, what was that? The Navy SEAL movie. Damn, it wasn't Damn 2, was it?
Which one? No, are you talking about Act of Valor?
Act of Valor. That's it. Thank you.
I mean,
it's basically started
terrible,
off,
but I mean, it was badass.
but I mean, that's so. If you're not familiar with that, it basically starts off as those guys were hired to make a commercial for Naval Special Warfare Command,
Right?
as
Yeah,
a recruiting tool, and they were like, we could just make this a movie, and instead of having
every
actors
one of those
portray
guys was
SEALs,
actually like SEALs.
it's a legit SEAL. They're legit SEAls and stuff.
Yeah.
So instead of saying we're gonna have actors portray SEAls, they just had SEAls that they taught how to act. They're like, that's gonna be cheaper in the long run. It's like they already know what they're doing when it comes to that. But yeah, they've gotten a lot of notoriety. I mean, you got Robert O'Neill, who's the one guy who was on the SEAL team. He actually just started up. Actually, that was something else we could talk about. He started up a medicinal marijuana company.
Nice.
Recently, but yeah, so they've gotten a lot of, I don't want to say notoriety, maybe that's the wrong term, but like exposure, so but
Exposure.
this movie Tears of the Sun came quite a while ago. It's I want to say it's at least 15 years old, but Cole Hauser, the guy that
and 3, I think.
Is it really been that
You could
long?
verify it. 2003.
I'm going to verify that right now. Tears of the Sun. Nailed it. 2003. Nigeria. That's it. They were in Nigeria. And it was direct. That's why it was good. It was directed by Antoine Fuqua.
Antoine Fuqua.
He's also the same director that did Training Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very gritty movie. I mean, it deals with a lot of emotion, but just the courage for them to not abandon, but just say, we're not going to just leave these people off to go off and die in the bush. We're going to freaking do something about it. And it's like a big conflict for, for Lieutenant Waters, Bruce Willis's character, because he's like, they were at one point where they engaged with that warring guerrilla faction. The one guy was like, I just can't look at them like packages anymore, like just somebody in tow with us. They're freaking people. It's like, I can't just look at them like they're not people. That's crap. But if you get a chance to watch it, I would highly encourage you to do so. And like I'm guaranteeing you that you will at least hit on 4, if not all 5 of those points of courage that we just talked about. Fantastic movie. And like the way that it ends with a quote, and it's not anything that has to do with the movie. It ends with a quote that I have since burned into my memory. It's a quote from Edmund Burke that says, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing."
To do nothing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Good stuff. So getting back
Very relevant quote
to
even to this day.
oh, absolutely. That's why I burned it seared it in my memory. So all right, back to the article. So, why courage can lead to happiness? Courage can lead to happiness because it enables us to face our fears, show up in our relationships, embrace personal growth, and live authentically. These qualities are essential to happiness. In facing and overcoming our fears, we can diminish their control over us, building confidence and resilience in the process. This reduces anxiety, stress, and regret. Courage also plays a crucial role in relationships, allowing us to be vulnerable and honest, fostering trust and intimacy. This openness leads to deeper, more meaningful connections, which are essential for long term happiness. Finally, courage is necessary for personal growth, pushing us to pursue our goals by taking risks and stepping out of our comfort zones. The resulting sense of
Mm.
accomplishment and pride further contributes to our overall well being. When we live authentically with courage, we experience greater satisfaction and inner peace, as there is no ongoing conflict between our true selves and the persona we might otherwise present. I'm going to read that again. When we live authentically with courage, we experience greater satisfaction and inner peace, as there is no ongoing conflict between our true selves and the persona we might otherwise present. By developing and growing their courage, your clients can learn to live full and rich lives aligned with their core values and their true selves. Another TED Talk, blah, blah, blah. Four
That's
character.
a pretty damn valid statement, honestly, if you ask me. Because
And
think about it. Because you think about it, like how many people like we've talked about it before, like the fake it till you make it, right? Like how many people have to fake it through a lot, and I mean like a lot of freaking shit. Like fake it through work, you fake it through, a meeting, you fake it through so many things in your life just to get through it, right? As
yeah,
opposed to really facing those issues down to really test your metal and to figure out, you know, just who you are and how, and look, I'm a, hey, I'm gonna call myself out on this. I am completely 100% guilty of that shit. At work, I'm not gonna lie, 80% of the freaking time, I'm faking it till like the smiling, the laughing, all that shit. I'm pretty much faking the hell out of it just to get through the day because of how much I hate it at work. Um,
is watching our episode.
it wouldn't surprise me as they were
Yeah, right.
watching the episode, but but still, it's interesting to hear that there are so many others that are very obviously going through the same thing. And I think there was a study that came out not too long ago talking about just like how many people hate their job and don't feel like they're going anywhere, and like the numbers were freaking staggering. I think like 70 something percent of Americans hate their job and don't know, and like are really just faking
Stuck.
it through it just to get through it. You know what I'm saying? And it's freaking insane, dude. It like I'm gonna have to find that article again and like show it to you one of these days. But
Yeah.
it was absolutely freaking bonkers just how bad things have gotten for the average American. And like in terms of like our mental state, like I mean honestly, dude, like you think about like the Americans that have gone through Great Depression and all these other freaking crazy things, right? Like if you look back in history and like think about the people that have experienced like true like hardship, like true hardship, not this freaking, no offense to anybody, but like no this fake ass like hardship that we're supposedly all going through, but through this social change and all this stupidity going on. Like, dude, there's people that have had it way rougher than we did. Like, we're not waiting in food lines. We're not granted, I mean, yeah, groceries and shit are expensive and it's getting really hard to buy enough for the whole family. And,
Cost of
but
living is not going up.
cost
Everything's
of
more
living.
expensive.
But at the same time, you had people just, a little under 100 years ago that were just
The
and
Great
like
Depression, absolutely.
dealing with crazy shit. Like, dude, these people
The
dealt
stock market
with
crash of '29, the Great Depression that ensued afterwards in the '30s.
right.
I mean,
They dealt with so much
a
shit.
decade of people not knowing where the hell their next meal was going to come from.
And think
Literally
about
rubbing pennies together, trying to make things work, and then it took
yeah,
a freaking war to go. All right, cool, we're good. All right,
just
ramp it
and
up.
think about that for a second. Just think about that think about that for a second in the terms of like if you didn't truly figure out who you were before that point, if you were someone living during that era, you know what I'm saying? You were gonna figure out who the hell you really fucking. I'm talking about men, women, didn't freaking kids. Okay, if you didn't know who the hell you were before the Great Depression struck, you damn sure knew who the hell you were and what you were gonna do right after. You know what I'm saying? It
And
it just
it's just a different different type of person that lived back there, much more resilient, much more confident. I mean, my grandfather was born, I think, in 1918. I think I should know
really
that. I think
damn.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
my
was
my grandfather was born in 1913. He was
yeah.
born the year after the Titanic sunk.
So, grew up during the Depression, went to World War II. There's a whole big long story, and I've told that story about my grandfather ended up serving in World War II and whatnot because he
Yeah.
had a glass eye. He was not supposed to have served, but there's again long story.
Him did it anyway.
He did it anyway. A long story, but anyway, like so, he gets home from the war and ends up, going through, and he was always a very big advocate for the Dale Carnegie program. How to reading the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, that's when Cora gets old enough, I'm gonna have her read that stuff.
And
But
actually,
hold on, hold on, hold on,
dude,
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. But I mean, you're talking about folks that had nothing, and he ended up having a produce company. He was the president of a bank in the town he lived in. Like accomplished a lot of stuff. Like people were just built differently. They endured all that hardship, came out the
yeah,
other end, and were able to do just mind-blowingly wondrous things because they're like, I've seen what the shitty part is. This is like prosperous. This is a good economy. It's a post-war economy. Like, let's go and take advantage of this stuff. What were you gonna say, dude?
um, there was a book I listened to, and it was about a Navy SEAL. Trying to remember. Fearless. That's right. Um, it was about a Navy SEAL named Adam Brown. Um, I mean, this guy he went through a lot, dude, and he dealt with a lot of drug addiction. He ended up kind of falling off the wagon a couple times when this is during his active service. But the amazing shit he did as he was deployed, it was like as if whenever he was back in garrison, he kind of substituted his drug for wanting to do good overseas for the real hard stuff. Well, you mentioned a glass eye. Your grandfather, like, dude, it's not something really that, let's just say, doesn't happen. It happened with him too. He had a glass eye and actually served in combat in Afghanistan until, unfortunately, Adam Brown was, finally KIA in one engagement. I believe it was in uh shit, where was it? It was somewhere in Afghanistan. I remember that much. But he was serving with his glass eye for like over like I think it was like just 2 years. I think he served another 2 years before he was KIA. And that's dude, that's insane. Like you were still a hard charging freaking like door kicking freaking pipe hitting freaking hardcore some bitch and you had one damn eye.
Well,
That's and the thing is like his dominant eye is the one he lost. He had to learn non-dominant and freaking crushed it.
had to relearn how to shoot.
Crushed it. Crushed it, dude. And it's
And
bonkers.
and you've seen a lot more of that in the global war and terrorism too. I promise you, we're going to try to get back on track here in a minute, folks. Just bear with us because this is very organic conversation, obviously. But you've also seen where they've had guys go over that have lost limbs and they have a prosthetic leg and stuff. So like,
And
they're
still go
able,
over there
and they still go back over there
and
and say, "Yeah, they
fucking
took
crush
something
it.
from me," and they go over there and they're like, you see a dude come back who's got a robotic leg and stuff. You're like, he's gonna stick that robotic leg right up my ass. I'm the one that blew him up. Fuck. Like, so, but yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the big differences between World War II and our time in the military and stuff. But it's
Yeah.
still good to see that people have that courage to go and do what needs to be done and stand up when the time is needed. So anyway, back to the article again. 4 character
Hell
strengths
yes.
related to courage. Courage is not a standalone virtue. It is supported by several character strengths that enable us to act courageously in different situations. Here are some of the key values in action, character strengths that have been found to be related to courage. Number 1, like we mentioned earlier, they're going to be together. Number 1, bravery. Bravery describes our ability to act despite our fear rather than in the absence of it. It is about confronting challenges, speaking up when needing to, when we need to, and defending what is right even in the face of opposition. Bravery also includes the willingness to take risks for the greater good or for our personal growth. It could look like standing up to a bully, pursuing a dream that others doubt, or even admitting when we've made a mistake. This should not be confused with recklessness. It is a calculated willingness to take on challenges that matter.
Hell yes.
Number 2, perseverance. Courage often requires sustained effort over time, especially when the road is long and difficult. So, perseverance is another critical strength linked to courage. It is the ability to keep going despite obstacles, setbacks, and failures. Maintaining a commitment.
Before.
I think we'll talk about it at the end of the show. Maintaining a commitment to our goals, values, and principles, even when the progress is slow or the outcome is uncertain. 3, honesty is about living with integrity and being authentic with ourselves and others. It is about living aligned with our values and principles, even when it's inconvenient or difficult. It requires us to be truthful in our words and actions and take responsibility for our decisions. Number 4, zest. Courage isn't just about facing difficulties, it's also about embracing life's opportunities with enthusiasm. Zest encourages us to try new experiences, pursue our passions, and engage with whatever life throws at us with a sense of adventure. And the last thing I was going to read is this portion here: how to foster courage and live authentically. Fostering courage is a continuous process that involves cultivating the character strengths we identified above. It requires intentionality and commitment. Here are some practical ways to help your clients develop courage and live more authentically. Identify values. Start by helping your clients identify their core values, what truly matters to them. When we are clear about our values, it becomes easier to make courageous decisions that align with them. Try using this core values worksheet help.
Stanislaw. Interesting.
Yep. practice vulnerability. Being vulnerable means opening up yourself to the possibility of rejection, failure, and criticism. Learning to be vulnerable is a powerful way to build courage. Encourage your clients to start sharing their thoughts and feelings with trusted individuals and gradually extend this practice to broader areas of their lives. So that was kind of interesting because of the fact that, like, you see a lot of stuff on mainstream media, social media, where it talks about, guys wanting, this. I saw a video today where a guy was, he's like, when you ask a guy, he says he's all right. He's not really all right, but that's what he's going to tell you because he's got so many different things going on in his head. He's got so many different, things he's got to worry about, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I can relate to that. So on one hand, we're being told to just take all that stuff, shove it down in the pits of our stomach, and just go on with it. But then you have this saying, practice being vulnerable. Yeah, I guess it kind of bridging the gap there. It's all about being vulnerable to the right person who you can have a good relationship and trust to be vulnerable with, where they're not going to turn around and use that as an advantage over yourself. The other thing I was going to say, real quick side note, when we were talking about let me go back for a second. Hold on. I was going to make a note and I just forgot about it until we just started talking. It was the spot earlier when it was talking about where was it? Oh, talking about the persona. As ongoing conflict between our true selves and the persona we might otherwise present. So you were talking about your example of that, dude. I immediately thought of like social media, because when you go on social media, you don't meet people on social media. You meet their representation of themselves,
right?
And some people,
the individual they want you to think they are.
Yes. Like you see all these influencers going out there and trying to do good things, and they're just, we're helping to rebuild stuff. Or they're exactly. They're like hammering a nail into a thing, and they're just there to do that, and then they drive off in their nice ass car and all this crap. I'm just like, there's a lot to be said for being courageous to be authentic. It's that whole persona thing. God, it just kills me. And I want to say thank you to you, Alamo, for you and your wife, for talking about doing that, getting me started on that, doing that a couple times a year, doing that social media purge, because dude, man, like you don't realize how bad it is. So you just unplug from all that and just walk away, and it's just like
let it all go.
Yeah, man.
I have to do it. I have to do it at least once every other year or so, because like I can only take so much of it. It's just like, and I go away for like 2 weeks, and then I come back and I'm like,
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. No, brother, I hear you, man. Like it's a lot. So anyway, I just had to bring that up because I was thinking about it. So, but yes, practicing vulnerability. So back to the article. Set small, courageous goals. Encourage your client to begin setting small, manageable goals that require courage, such as speaking up in a meeting, trying a new hobby, or having an honest conversation with a friend. As they achieve these small goals, your client's confidence will grow, making it easier to tackle bigger challenges. And then lastly, reflect on past successes. Reflecting on past courageous acts can boost confidence. Help your clients remember times when they were courageous and the positive outcomes that resulted from their courageous actions. Use these memories to fuel their current efforts. So, very, very much a psychology-minded episode, talking from pretty much from the perspective and the purview of, therapists and people in that kind of, that realm of the world and whatnot, but still very, very applicable to what we were talking about. So
indeed,
but a lot of good talking points in there as well. We didn't read all of them because it kind of went on and did some other things, which kind of went a little bit heavy into.
Hey, we did it live, baby.
Exactly, we did it live. So, yay! The next article we're going to read is an article that was posted. It's armyandnavyacademy.org, and it's called "Courage is Key to Being Prepared for an Unsure Future." Courage is the ladder on which all other virtues mount. Ambassador Claire Booth Lucy. Courage is an attribute people often ascribe to those in the armed forces and our public safety agencies who take massive personal risks to save lives and property. On many occasions, we also celebrate courage on the part of other individuals in everyday life who rescue others at their own peril from fires, accidents, acts of violence, and other kinds of crises. Even athletes whose courage compels them to take big risks to win a game also win our admiration. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Not, but
A
I
little
mean,
bit.
when you're comparing like military stuff, it's a different kind of courage, a different level of courage. Not naysaying on anybody, but just throwing out that for contextual purposes. In more dire circumstances of the distant and recent past, our nation's POWs had to summon personal courage to survive several years of torturous confinement during World War II, the Korea and Vietnam Wars. One example, the Vietnam POWs muffled their whispers and wrapped a secret code on prison cell walls to exhort each other to behave in such a way during the brutal interrogations they endured that they could return with honor. Closer to home, the dire circumstances some people face through severe physical impediments have been overcome by great levels of courage. The story of physicist Stephen Hawking, stricken with Lou Gehrig's disease, and his first wife, Jane, depicted in the 2014 movie The Theory of Everything, is an excellent example of personal courage overcoming great odds. If only courage was readily evident throughout more of our society today, where it's sorely needed at every level. So many so-called everyday people haven't internalized courage in their own daily lives. The reason? It's not seen as the safe thing to do. And they're right. Even worse, the courage shortage is becoming more critical. Many parents are not instilling in their children, tomorrow's future adults, the character traits necessary to display courage when circumstances call for it. Neither are most schools and other learning environments for young people. Be careful, don't take risks. Be careful and don't take risks have become a common mantra in much of today's society, so much that the word risk has become a four-letter pejorative. I want to stop right there for just a second, Alamo, if you would. So it's really interesting. Like we've talked about several times in the past, how it's funny how things like align and just when we're talking about a certain subject matter and this, that, and the other. So I was watching so on my Facebook page earlier this week, and one of the things that came up was it was the anniversary of the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in South Florida. And there was a reporter that was interviewing some of the students, and in particular, they were talking about the ROTC students that were there. And the one kid was the company commander for the last period of the day. And he's like, I took my class in a little bit early. They're all in the hallway. They're lined up. We start hearing shots. I pull everybody in out of the hallway. And we have these giant Kevlar curtains that we use for rifle practice. Shoved everybody behind there, pulled the curtains down over them and whatnot. And it's like to hear these kids like actually having the wherewithal, the awareness, and the perception to just sit here and go, okay, what can I use? It's a very fluid, dynamic situation and whatnot. It's like that's very impressive. And I'm not saying that just to highlight ROTC. I mean, that is kind of, I will say that there is a lot that you can learn about yourself from having that type of education, like taking ROTC classes, whatnot. You just look at things in a different perspective, because it's not just about joining the military. It's, what's the mission statement? To motivate young citizens to be
Better citizens.
to motivate young people to become better citizens, right? So you learn like all these things about how you should properly display the flag, rendering honors appropriately, but just also like just being to get you to not be afraid to make a decision. Sometimes you got to make a decision, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, and you just got to own it and run with it. And that's something I was talking to my daughter about recently. It's like you got to not be afraid to make a decision, even a bad one, because it's making a bad decision can sometimes be a better alternative to making no decision.
Or, as a wise man once said, sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than to ask for permission.
Also true. I am so parched today. It is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
So yeah, that made me kind of think of that, and I was like, the timing of everything. We're talking about courage, and then this pops up during the week that we're talking about it. It's just like, okay, somebody up there is, by the way, you should look at this kind of thing. The grand architect, as they say.
Indeed.
Anyway.
Anywho.
One thing has become abundantly clear in recent years. We live in very uncertain times of economic, political, and social upheavals. Courage will need to become even more an essential characteristic of how we behave and respond to the new and ever-growing number of circumstances in a very uncertain world. Personal character is a primary trait that produces personal courage. Both are learned traits, gained from observing them in role models, but more so through formal character development orientation and training at home and in schools and other institutions where those traits are valued. Perhaps the most valuable character development program at high school level is the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. Yeah, I know I said that, but I wasn't trying to completely push that. But the JROTC program in place at more than 3,000 U.S. high schools and military academy, which includes the Army and Navy Academy, a college preparatory school for 7th to 12th grade boys in Carlsbad, California. While military in its theme and format, the JROTC program at that and other JROTC school. I'm tired, guys. I'm sorry. Other JROTC schools.
Words,
I speak words. Is not an outlet for recruiting young people into military service. Rather, its points of emphasis are citizenship, leadership, and character, and community service. You see that's a typo.
Leadership, character, and community service.
Well, it says it twice on here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
I
typo.
see it.
I didn't even see that. Didn't even see that first time I read this.
Neither did I.
2014 article in U.S. News and World Report quotes a JROTC cadet in Missouri as saying that JROTC, quote, helps you work with others and to be able to clearly express yourself and not be afraid of what people think of you, end quote. The Army and Navy's Academy president, retired Army Major General Art Bartell, wrote a January 2016 San Diego Union Tribune op-ed commentary that the JROTC program in place at his and other schools, I'm not going to say it again because I'm going to trip over it every single time, includes a special emphasis on developing personal character to equip young people with the courage to respond to the rapid changes taking place in society's cultural and social landscape. Quote,
damn, what was it? Run-on sentences much?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Character development is as important a component in developing our young people as anything they will learn in a classroom, he wrote. Author and speaker Darcy Kimmel and her husband Tim counsel parents and others on parenting and family issues. Also the mother of 4, Kimmel wrote in a recent FamilyMatters.net article, quote, courage is our convictions with sweat all over them. It is one thing to know the right thing to do. It's another thing to actually do the right thing. It's courage that gets it done. Without courage, we simply give lip service to our convictions. That was a good quote. Kimmel lists 10 different ways parents, teachers, and other adult role models can teach children courage, Paraphrase as follows: don't surrender to the enemies of character building. Parents must overcome fatigue, the hurried lifestyle, and resist cultural attitudes expressed as taking the path of least resistance. The end justifies the means, and other easy outs that rob you of your own courage to do the tough stuff that prepares children for life. Yes, abso-freaking-lutely. Yes. 2, lead the way. No parents or other adult role models have the luxury of teaching anything to the children that they themselves don't model.
Damn right.
Encourage independence. Let young people try things on their own, even if you think they aren't quite ready. Applaud their efforts even when they don't succeed. Help them face their fears. Fears are a natural part of childhood. Let them talk about their fears and even let them name them. Never minimize or ridicule them for being afraid. Help them see a realistic view of what they are afraid of, and then they come up with a plan to overcome that fear. Prepare them for the unknown. Fear of the unknown is something everybody struggles with, especially children and teenagers. Talk them through the unknown scenario. What will be familiar? What will be untried? Help them come up with a plan to handle the unfamiliar part. Assure them that they have what it takes. Teach them to distinguish between courage and recklessness. Courage is not the absence of fear. Rather, it is the determination to do the right thing in any situation. This includes a dose of respect for danger and a filter of common sense. 7, show them how to confront moral deterioration. The world that young people are growing up in is not friendly to morality and ethics. It takes courage for young people to stand up for what they believe is right. Help them prepare in advance answers to a friend or a level-headed presentation to a group on ethical issues they may need to confront. Gracious courage is very influential.
I'm sorry, but I 100% agree with that. Number 7.
Yeah.
100% agree with number 7.
The moral deterioration.
Screwed up world out there, people.
Yeah. Let's make it better by giving everybody a participation trophy.
Woo!
Oh, yeah. I kind of wish I would have had that harder talk with my dad growing up, but not talking crap. Number 8, talk them through real or possible situations that will require courage. The author suggests going over with children and young people a newspaper article, a TV or internet story of someone who did or did not display courage. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? Turn those reports into case studies. Talk about what they should do if they are confronted by friends or situations they are morally or ethically challenging. Preparation builds courage. I'm very big on the whole teachable moments. Like that's probably the way that I kind of go off and when I'm trying to impress upon my daughter something, I use like teachable moments and whatnot. That seems to be like my go-to mentoring style. So, oh yeah. Big. Number 9, don't let your fears affect their courage. Recognize your own fears and even talk about them with those you are mentoring, but be sure to emphasize how your fears were overcome. Number 10, encourage children and young people every chance you get. Courage is like every other character trait. It needs practice. What better place for them to practice that surrounding them with parents or other adult role models than with parents and other adult role models? There's a lot of typos I did not see the first time. Wow. What better place for them to practice that surrounding them with parents and other adult role models who can instill in them wisdom, patience, love, and encouragement. This generation is not suffering from a lack of knowledge. Instead, they are too often suffering from a lack of courage. We can change that. And that was a quote from Darcy Kimmel from FamilyMatters.net. So yeah, another great article. But also the other thing too, and kind of going along with what we talked about last week, I'm going to kind of circle the wagons back around here, folks. Just bear with me for a minute. When we talked about last week, we talked about direction and why that seems to get lost when we get out of the military. We don't really know what to do because there's a lot of decisions when we join the military that are made for us, you know, where to be, what time to be, what you got to wear, what you got to bring with you, all that kind of stuff. So
What kind of hairstyle?
what the regs are, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
What you're gonna do for the day, what the you know the plan of the day is, all that good stuff. So you kind of get accustomed to that, and it kind of makes things easy, and that's why a lot of guys, or you've heard a lot of people say, "I wish I could go back overseas because things were simple." Very much
Yeah.
they were. You knew the societal norms, you knew your area of your area of responsibility, your area of operation. You knew what the
Ayo.
ROE was. You knew what friendly military forces, opposing military forces. Neutral people also in there as well, civilians. You knew all that stuff, so it was just very simple. When you have a lot of uncertainty, you're just like, So the reason I say that is sometimes it takes a little bit of courage. It's a big step, especially getting out of the military, like we talked about last week, where you lose that sense of direction. Have the courage to find what you got to do when you get out, whether it's going back to school, finding a new job, have the courage to look at things a little bit differently, look at it from a different perspective, this, that, and the other. Definitely, like the article said, and like we just both said, take the time to mentor your kids, prepare them. Like it said, these are not just our kids; they are tomorrow's future adults. Okay,
That's right.
and it's our job to make sure that they are as best trained and prepared to meet the challenges of tomorrow. Another thing that I thought about when I was reading these various articles. How many kids nowadays, and this is not, again, we're not trying to poke fun of anybody, but we're just using it for contextual purposes. How many kids nowadays don't drive because they're afraid to drive? Oh, it's so dangerous. It's so scary. It's like, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license. Just be like,
hell yeah.
I'm out. Bye. Borrow the car, going to the movies, going over to this clown's house and hang out and do dumb stuff playing PlayStation. Yeah, absolutely. That, and then you jump on my car while I'm doing all that goofy stuff. Doing this.
Oh, I did T1000 right in front of your cars.
Oh, just running off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scared that piss out of me.
All I remember is like I'm sitting there like I'm like this.
I drove off from your house.
And then you did, yeah. And I remember
his house is on the corner, so you have to go down this way and you make another turn to get out of the place. So he just ran straight up and over, just literally this is all you saw was
No, I ran up the hill like across like there was two houses across from my house.
Yep.
And I ran up the hill between those two houses behind like to the back end of another house that was on the street you were on. And here I saw you and I was like
trucking it.
And all of a sudden I go and I turn and pivot and go.
And you jumped on the hood of my car. I was like,
and your reaction, you were like, "Oh, don't get off my hood!"
So here's the funny thing about that. I told you, that's where my daughter lives now.
You did tell me that, yeah.
So I drive by that spot every day, and I'm just like, I just look at it, I'm just like, oh man,
good times.
So yeah, courage is definitely something important to have, whether you're in the military or not.
Exactly.
It's like it said several times. It is a very complex, ever-changing, dynamic, fluid environment and world that we live in nowadays. So you have to understand that you need to have the courage to get up and face the challenges of each day. Make the small goals so that you can meet the larger term goals. Okay. Courage is something you have to train yourself to have. If you don't, you can have some uncertainty. I've had that before. I've had it from time to time where you don't have that courage, and you're just like, probably the most courageous thing I've ever done at the time, mind you, was join the military. I was very shy, very reserved, very introverted. And I was just like, hi. Like, it was bad, right? But, um, yeah, they freaking changed that real quick. So, what else did you want to say on the subject there, my dude, before we start closing it out? I'm not hearing you. Yep. He's checking something on his computer, folks. Bear with us. Dead air. This is awkward.
So
There he
I
is.
think
Hey.
so I knocked the dongle to my mic apparently, and it's gotten very
Dude,
sensitive over the last like.
there's kids that listen to the show. You're talking about your dongle over here. Put up some walls like you did in the hoots, so you don't have to see everybody's wieners and shit, man.
It's
Good God.
switched. It's switched back over to the soundboard, which I have my headset connected to right now.
I got you.
Um,
Anyway,
but yeah, no, like what I was saying was, you know, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, man. Like you don't. It kind of goes back to the article that we were. It goes back to the article that we were, the first article that we were on. You know, where you don't really know who you are until you've tested who you are. And I think a big part of it is a lot of us go through life kind of faking it, which kind of leads into many things that I won't go into right now. We could talk about offline because it tends to be a little bit more controversial, and we're still a small podcast, and we do want to be a little bit more out there. So I'm gonna leave my opinions to myself until we get just a little bit bigger.
we are going to reserve the right to make a comment at this time and juncture.
Yeah. But you know, you don't truly figure out who you are until you've tested your metal. You know what I mean? And tested your metal either against or with others along with you. You know, it kind of like the old church saying that you know, iron sharpens iron. You know,
Yes.
you you really like you don't really you don't really have a testimony until you've been put through the test, and in that test is where you find yourself, you know. um and you know, hardship is a very common theme among, I mean, you could go through any kind of document. So you could mythology, the Bible, um, you know, random stories of you know, soldiers, Marines, airmen, whatever that have served throughout the years. I mean, hell, politicians, like anybody, any one of those people. You go through hardship, right? And typically, I'm not saying all the time, but typically you'll come out the other end better because you'll have tested your metal at that point to figure out how much you can take and who you can be. Um, and I think everybody has to kind of jump on the test yourself bandwagon, because right now everybody is on this bandwagon of, oh, I'm going through so much. Shut your mouth, you're not. Sorry.
Well,
Shut your mouth, you're not.
let me
Now,
interject. Let me interject real quick.
Uh-huh.
You might. So I would either say either one, you're really not. So like, shut your
Correct.
face. Number
Correct.
two, whoop-de-doo, you're not the only one. Everybody's got something going on in one way, shape, or another. So
Correct.
it's like,
And that's
you know,
correct. and that's the and but see, that's the thing. That's the whole point. Hardship is a part of life, and the quicker the quicker we get to know, and again, this is not me being hypocritical. I'll tell you right away, my jackass has gone through a bunch of shit over the last couple of years, and I've had my doubts. Okay, it is what it is. You're gonna go through shit. Get over it. Get over it. Okay. That's just a part of life. And unfortunately, we've gotten to this point where, and I think that's where the sensitivity level comes from in a lot of people nowadays, where it's like, oh, they said this. Uh-huh. And? Well, they said it.
This is going to be maybe a little bit off topic, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact there's nothing wrong with everybody having a voice to voice an opinion.
Correct.
That's all great.
But
just because you have the ability doesn't mean you need to all the time. You know,
Correct.
It's like, and because again, we go back to that whole point of, you and I can sit here and we can look at each other like this and go, hey man, I think you're messed up and wrong. And
I think you're messed up and wrong.
Turn the other way. Turn the other way. Other way. There you go. Now we're looking at each other. I think you're wrong.
Oh, wait. And on my side, if I go this way, I'm looking at you.
I know. Do you have it mirrored?
Probably.
Can you read what your hat says?
Because it's backwards to me.
Well, then that's because you have it mirrored. So, yeah. But anyway, we can sit here. It took me a while to figure out because I'm looking at it and I'm going. But, we don't live in a society right now, especially with, the younger folks. It's like
you have the capacity to deal with it.
Well, has capacity to deal with it, but just the ability to have a conversation where you can agree to disagree.
It's respectful, correct?
Right, and that's why just because you have the ability to do so doesn't mean you need to exercise the option and the ability to do so, because it just gets into the thing. It's like respect. It just what do they tell you to do at the firing range? Place your selector lever from safe to semi. Watch your lane.
Your lane.
Stay in your lane, man. Like, sometimes you can be brave. Just have the courage to just not say any damn thing at all and just mind your own fucking business. It's like,
I fixed it.
Oh. I was wondering what you were talking about. You're such a hambo. Live show, folks. Yep, live show.
Live show.
Been friends for 20 years and we still act like asshats. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's okay to not agree on everything. That's what gives us our uniqueness, is the fact that we're all different.
Yes.
We're only alike in the fact that we're human.
Right.
We're Homo sapiens. We have a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, 10 fingers, 10 toes.
Correct. And I'm sorry, but like whenever I think of like we all got to think the same or you're evil. Like, dude, we're not the fucking Borg, okay? We're not, we're not like a hive mind. We're not supposed to be.
Great. Okay? Great reference, bud.
Like, it's not freaking you will be assimilated or your resistance is futile. Fuck off.
All of your genetic and individual distinctiveness will be added to our own. Resistance is futile.
Like, come on, man. Like,
are you? Hold on. I got a question. Earlier in the week, you said you were starting to go back and watch Star Trek. Is that why that came up?
Partially.
Yeah.
Partially.
Yes. Awesome.
But amazing movies aside.
Have the courage to make an undue sci-fi reference in the middle of a serious talk about shit.
Indeed. But like seriously, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people nowadays where it's like,
sorry,
they're of this mindset that we have to. They're of this mindset that we have to think alike in order to get along. And it's just so asinine. It's so
Frustrating.
frustrating. Like we used to be able to think differently and still be cool with each other. Now it's you think different than me. I hate
I
you.
don't care.
Like, come
We
on.
did that right that time.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
you
No,
know, and
I totally agree. It's like, and a great example of that is like going to, the limited amount of I've been to a couple of different like we were talking about this. I was talking about this with Brian the other night, going to we went to a Jeep meet up in Ocala National Forest, and we went on a Jeep ride, and we're just cruising through the trails and stuff all day. It was awesome. Like, I had never taken part in that. Just getting out in nature and then just enjoying the day. You're out there breathing fresh air. Everybody's just
hell
having a
yes.
good old time. Hell yes, absolutely. And it got brought up because I read an article about how the Navy had a little boo boo. They were dropping some ordnance right there at a bombing range. That's butts up right next to the national forest, and they overshot by about 6 miles, and they dropped some ordnance in the forest, and it put about 20 acres on fire. They contained it and everything, but it's just like, come on, Navy, you're making us all look bad, come on, man.
Hmm.
But what's
Well,
cool about it
at least it
though,
wasn't our branch because
oh, we'll fuck up something too, don't worry, just give us some time. But anyway, what's cool about it is like, going back to the whole we have to agree. No, you don't. Guys
Yeah.
will set their Jeeps up in a variety of different ways to either go for like a certain look, aesthetic, go for a certain function or purpose or whatnot. And it's like you get to learn some really cool shit about it. Like, not everybody has to be the same. It's not like where, in an infantry platoon, everybody has to pack their ruck the same. You grab anybody's ruck, the poncho's in one spot. This is in here. This is in there. Their first aid kit's always on them. It's not for the sake of knowing where it is at all times. You don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want. And I just, that whole like we have to be alike so we can be respectful to each other. No, you can agree to disagree. Like, and that's the great thing
and be
about
respectful about it.
and be respectful about it. Yeah, and that's just I really would like to see us get back to that, man. I know
Yeah.
we're going off on a little bit of a tangent. We're really getting into the brush here,
Just a little
not
bit,
just the
but
weeds. We're getting into the brush on the side of the road, but
at the
just
same time, though, dude, like if you think about it, like I mean, what is the military? It's a ragtag group of guys from different and gals from different walks of life, different beliefs, different freaking backgrounds.
it is a
You know,
microcosm of the country and the society in
and
which we serve.
correct. And I mean, back then when we served, at least, you know what I
Did
mean?
you just say without saying back in our day? Back in our day,
I did say, yeah, I did kind of say it. Yeah.
we're not that fucking old, bro. Come on.
Back in my day, when when
Thanks, Abe. Abe Simpson over here.
I want to watch Matlock.
Oh my god. Get to the point there, dingbats.
No, but seriously, no, but like if you think about it, like again, I don't know how the environment has gotten in the military service now. I mean, obviously it's downsized since, obviously everything in Afghanistan and Iraq has calmed down, right? But I mean, I hope like culturally to a certain degree it's still the same, where it's still everybody's, regardless of beliefs, whatever, are still getting along. I would hope that's the case, but you had that when we served, where everyone was, no matter what, we still had each other's backs, because at the end of the day, when the bullets start flying, that's
all
who
you
we got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And God, I hope it's still like that. I don't. It's a possibility, with the way our unfortunate culture has been, it's a big possibility that the military is not like that, at least not the way we would hope.
So without getting
But,
too
yeah.
far into this conversation, because you actually just kind of gave a little sneak peek of what we're talking about next week, but stay tuned. I would say it's different because what was the driving force of us getting into the military and most of our friends?
9/11.
9/11. Exactly. So we entered under the pretense of like, hey, it's our time for our generation to step up and do the right thing. So now that was at the beginning of GWAT. Now you have folks graduating this year. It's 2025. If you're graduating high school, you're going in post GWAT. They're not even awarding the National Defense Service Medal for the completion of basic training anymore. That time period has sunsetted and it's done. I don't believe they're even giving out the GWAT Service Medal for completion of basic training. I don't even think that's a thing.
I think some people are grandfathered in.
Well, yeah, but like new enlistees and stuff, like
No.
graduates from basic military training. No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
But again, I think the big motivating factor behind that, and talking about the way things were, back in our day, was the fact that we knew what we were getting into. We were going into a wartime military, so
Yarp.
there's that. But do you have anything else you want to add, dude, before we close out?
Nah, I think we've covered what we were gonna say. But yeah, I'm glad we did go on that tangent because it covered some good points.
I'd agree. I'm not mad about it at all. So,
Huey.
but yeah, that's our talk on this topic of courage. Hopefully you learned something. If not, maybe just gave you some thought-provoking discussions, internal monologue or whatnot. Something you can discuss with a friend, maybe with your children when you're trying to mentor them or whatnot. So,
Huey.
But we're going to start closing it out like we always do. Kind of give you a little background. So, like we mentioned earlier, Alamo and I have been friends since we met in high school back in 2001. We have been friends pretty much ever since. Went and served our own time in the military. We then kind of linked back up and worked together for a company here in Tampa for a little bit of time. One of the guys that we worked with rapidly became a good friend of ours. His name is John. John was a guy that was absolutely he was a force of nature, man. That guy
was interesting.
You never knew what the hell was going to come out of his mouth, and that was fantastic. Sometimes it's like, bro, why buy a box when you can buy a whole case? That's like a lot.
Yeah,
and they'd just be like, "You're right."
He
redneck Jedi mind trick, man. I swear to God, that was a crazy shit.
If there was anybody that was, I kid you not, freaking the equivalency of a snake oil salesman, it was John. Like he could take this bottle of snake oil and be like, "Bro,
this will solve dandruff.
It'll solve everything.
Everything."
Just.
Oh man, that's absolutely
ED?
true.
Just 2 drops on. Just
2 drops. I was thinking the same. You got arthritis in your knees from the military, bro. I got something for you, right,
bro? I had problem with my joints. Just 2 drops under the tongue.
Good to go. That's what it was like working with John every day. We laughed a lot.
Oh my God.
I mean, even when times were rough, when we were super busy, swamped at work, John always found a way to just make things easy and just start cracking up and laughing and shit. It was fantastic. Yeah. So we all left there and kind of went our own way. Fell out of touch with one another. Alamo and I ended up getting back in touch, and I worked an event for his lovely wife for her channel. Shout out to flipsidementorship.com. We've got a lot of great things going on over there. If you don't know what that is, Google it, check it out. It's awesome. But she is doing the good work over there, and it is awesome. So check it out. But I worked an event with Alamo and his lovely wife, and then Alamo was like, "Dude, we should do something to get back together. I miss us hanging out and just being stupid and goofing and all that shit." Well, soon after that, we had found that John, our good friend and former coworker, had unfortunately solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution, and he committed suicide. So I reached out to Alamo. I was like, "Hey, did you hear about John?" He's like, "No, I got to call him for his birthday." I'm like, "You can't. He's gone." So we had originally talked about doing a podcast, and I was like, "Dude, I don't know shit about a podcast." And Alamo very convincingly told me, he's like, "Dude, it can't be that hard. They put a monkey in outer space." I'm just like, think I'm getting sold some snake oil right now, but hey, it's already. So we kind of started talking about that, and what we have, what you see in front of us and see in front of you is what we've been doing for the last 102 episodes. So we thought very long and arduously discussed what we were going to talk about and what our mission
Passion
was.
project initialized.
Exactly. And it quickly became pretty clear like what we were trying to do, how we were doing it and whatnot. Well, part of what we came up with, besides our name, the Battle Bros Podcast, is the Battle Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is 4 easy tenets, where it'll just kind of help you to remind you that you don't need to go down that same path. You don't need to make that kind of permanent choice when you have a temporary issue that can be solved via other methods. So if you can remember these 4 things, you have a pretty good shot of being on the right path. So B, all you got to do is remember the letters BROS, the letters in bros. Okay. But B, be tenacious. No matter what you choose to do in life, do it to the fullest of your abilities. Be tenacious, have tenacity.
The 10 ass.
What? What are you talking?
The 10 ass.
Bro, I love you, but there's times I just want to come through this damn internet connection and just choke the shit. Jesus. Shut up. Damn.
Bring it, bitch.
Oh, we're going to rumble. I'm going to lose horribly, but we're going to rumble. Don't you worry about it. We've known this from past experiences. Anyway, no matter what you choose to do in life, whether it's being a parent, being a mentor to young people, being an educator, a soldier, a service member,
hell yes,
whatever you choose,
citizen,
a regular citizen, being somebody that's have the tenacity to be courageous and brave,
yes,
whatever that looks like, give things the fullest amount of effort that you can muster at that particular time. In the words of the great Ron Swanson, don't half-ass 2 things, whole ass 1 thing. Okay, be tenacious. R, refuse to surrender. In the path of life, we're going to encounter a lot of different things that happen. You're going to get sidetracked. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get, have to take, 3 steps backwards in order to start moving forward again. It happens. No matter what those events are, those roadblocks or stoppages or whatever you want to call them, refuse to surrender no matter what. Make sure you're always, moving towards the objective. Okay. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. As mentioned with the last one, things happen, things come up. Whatever those obstacles look like, go right through them. Whether it's breaching a doorway, breaching a wall, using C4, explosives, death cord,
Bangalores,
whatever it takes. I mean, whatever it takes to get through those obstacles. Sometimes you got to swim through 100 yards of mud to get back on the right path to go where you're going. Whatever that looks like, just don't let the obstacles beat you and get you bogged down. Okay, it might take a little bit longer, whatever the case may be. Obliterate those obstacles. keep moving on to hit the OBJ and get onto the X. Okay.
Huey.
Lastly, S. Seek out help in a time of need. As you mentioned with our good friend John, he solved a temporary problem with a very permanent solution, and that is unfortunate because John was one of those guys who deserves to be here like anybody else. Deserves to have his story told, his experiences, his wisdom, his laughter, his humor, the nonsensical way that he did shit sometimes, the dumb fucking games that we played at work. It's like kind of shit,
I always do the same shit.
Exactly. Exactly. If you're not doing good, reach out to somebody, no matter what that looks like.
Exactly.
I would love for us to not be doing this podcast if it meant John was still here, or maybe a different form of a podcast or some other thing. But that's unfortunate because John is gone forever and he can't come back, unfortunately. And I hope he's looking down and laughing, looking at our show, going, "Yeah, nice." Like he always said. That would make me just absolutely thrilled if I knew that he was watching.
Nice.
Why do one podcast when you could do like 100? That's like 100 times more. Him saying some shit like that, just be like, "Yeah,
come on, bro,
nice." If you feel like you're in a bad place, or you're not doing as well or as good as you could be doing, reach out to somebody. Okay, humans are social creatures by design. We need to look out for each other. The lowest unit of division in the military is the battle buddy team. 2 people. You never go anywhere by yourself. You're always with at least one other person. Sometimes you go with your own fire team, you go with a squad, you roll platoon deep, company deep, whatever the case may be. You're never by yourself, though. There's always somebody there with you. Okay?
Correct.
In the event you feel like there's something where you need to reach out, there are options out there. Okay? If you have the ability, reach out to somebody that knows you on a very close basis. It could be a coworker, it could be a family member, a close friend like this guy. It could be somebody you served with. We're as many people that have served during GWAT, that served during the War on Terror. It's really still not a lot of people to think about it. It's only like 0.45% of the population that served in the war at that particular time, compared to like the other wars, Vietnam and Korea and World War II. It's really not a lot. It's
I think
very,
that was
very,
like
very
2%, and even back then, I think it was like just 2% of the country.
Yeah,
it wasn't a lot at all. It usually never is.
Regardless, reach out to those people. If it's got somebody that serves with you, that served with you, that knows you, hey man, let them know. I need to talk to somebody. I'm not doing too good. And hopefully they can do the same thing with you. I wish that John would have reached out to one of us, and we could have talked about some stuff and maybe got him some help or whatnot, so he didn't have to face whatever demons alone and go down that path of no return. So if you ever feel like you're going to harm yourself, stop, obviously, and don't do it. Okay, there are options out there for you. You can contact the National Suicide Prevention Hotline one of 2 different ways. You have the 800 number. It's 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255, or just dial TALK, 1-800-273 Tango Alpha Lima Kilo. TALK. Okay. You can also dial 988. Again, that's 988. When you get on the line, just make sure you hit option 1 to talk to somebody at that particular time. It is an option and a resource that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they're going to get you whatever help needs to be given so that they can keep you around. Okay. We are losing a lot of people. And I heard a statistic earlier this week that really kind of had me floored. This is the thing that we're trying to help stop and prevent right here, is this number right there. On average, 22 veterans a day are committing suicide. And what I heard earlier this week, that number could be as high as 40. And that's staggering. All right. That is awful. Okay. That is what we are trying to combat and what we are trying to prevent. Okay. 22 is a lot of people, 40 is a hell of a lot fucking more. But just knowing that's still, if it's one person and you know that person, that also sucks in a different kind of way because it's somebody that maybe
freaking
could have been reached out to, or hey man, just wanted to freaking check on my battle buddy, see what's going on, all that kind of stuff. So we need your help. If you know somebody like that, encourage them to get some help, whatever that looks like. Talking to somebody, getting them set up with a counselor, getting therapy, talking, heaven forbid if it's something serious enough, calling the suicide prevention hotline, get the help out there. Okay. We are starting to dwindle in numbers. It's a lot. Okay. If it's 40 a day, that's really got me disturbed.
Yeah.
Really, 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 really disturbed and concerned. So
hell yeah, it is.
But if you can remember those 4 things, folks, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can remember those 4 things, you're going to have a pretty good chance of being okay. So hopefully you remember that. That's why we came up with that, just as a kind of a, help keep everybody in the fight. So on that note, I'm going to hand it off to this guy. He's going to do all the social media plugging and all that important stuff. And I'm going to wrap it up for the night. So take it away there, Gay.
Gonna laser focus in and cut through this. This is freaking
laser focus. You haven't been laser focused all night, dude. Let's call it what it is.
If you want to catch us on the social medias, you can do that on multiple different places. You can do that at facebook.com/Battle Bros .podcast. You can also do that
20 seconds in. He's already fucking up, people. Oh, watch some sauce.
On the Instagram at BattleBros_podcast. You can also catch us over there on the X at BattleBrosPC. Once again, at BattleBrosPC over on the X, formerly Twitter. And you can contact us there and all the instant messaging services that those providers have to offer. If you would like to contact us more privately, also if you have show ideas and otherwise, you can contact us on the instant messengers on those platforms. You can also do it at our Gmail, which is battlebrospc@gmail.com. Once again, that is battlebrospc@gmail.com, where you can also message us privately if, say, for example, you yourself or a friend of yours, family member, whatever, is experiencing thoughts. We encourage you guys to contact us there. Just you keep it as minimal as a issue as possible, and that way you're not leaking all your info out there to everybody else and their mama. If you like to catch us on other platforms, as discussed earlier in the episode, we have said that we are playing catch up right now on getting all of our episodes caught up on the other platforms, especially if you want to listen to us on anything else other than here live on the YouTube every Friday. You could catch us on multiple different platforms. That's Spotify. You could catch us on Rumble, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, I believe Amazon Music, and a few others that are now escaping my mind. We encourage you to go check us out there. Yes, Stitcher. One important thing, like I said, the Rumble. If you want to catch us on Rumble, you can catch us over on Rumble at rumble.com. Search Battle Bros, all one word. That's Battle Bros, all one word on the rumble.com, where you can see our beautiful mugs once again on a platform that, doesn't really hate us and actually will decide to pay us if we get enough views. So, yeah, do that, please. Yeah. It's nice over there on the Rumble. We appreciate all the love we can get on any platform. However, So keep the comments coming. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe on all the episodes you watch. And once again, comment, because that's the biggest way that we get to be recognized on the biggest of those platforms, which is YouTube. And also, it allows us to be able to communicate with you guys as well as discuss topics that you guys want to listen to or otherwise.
Also, shout out to StreamYard for making all this possible. So,
hell yes.
StreamYard is amazing. If you're doing a podcast, use StreamYard, by the way. Shameless plug. So that is going to wrap up our episode tonight. This has been episode 102 entitled Courage of the Battle Bros podcast. We greatly and humbly thank you for stopping by and giving us either a look and or listen. We would love to hear back from you guys. Like we said, getting feedback and comments from you guys, it just shows what kind of support we have. The monetary stuff is great. Obviously, that would help with a lot of things. But the most important thing is just remembering to just understand that you are a very vital link in all of this, in regards that we have a message that we're trying to distribute to everybody. We're not going to reach everybody. You could be watching the show and go, hey, that's actually a pretty good message. I know somebody that might need to hear this.
You could be a valid part of that.
You could have some ownership in that, which is pretty cool. My daughter asked me a long time ago, she's like, how many followers do you have? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I think, I said, I don't know both their names offhand, but, we're grateful for both of them. But, honestly, it's not about followers. It's not about likes and all that stuff. It's about saving people. It's about getting them out of a bad cycle and trying to stop something bad from happening. And that's more important. I told her, I said, if we can stop one person from making a very permanent change in their life by ending it, that to me is well worth all the effort and time that we put into this. So you can help be a part of that. You never know who's going to need to hear what we have to offer. So there's 102 episodes now of different subject matters that we talked about. Be aware the first few are a little bit cringy to watch. Full disclosure. But yeah, if you can help us out with that, we would be very humbly appreciative of that. So,
yep.
Just remember, folks, as always, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. The number again for the suicide prevention hotline is 1-800-273-8255 or dial 988 if you need to get a hold of somebody. We will be back next week when we have another conversation, which Alamo kind of hinted at, tap, tap, hint, hint, wink, wink kind of thing. I think tomorrow's, not tomorrow, but next week is going to be a pretty awesome conversation. It might be another one that goes a little on the long side because of the subject matter, but if you want to see what it is, well, I guess you just have to log to come back and check it out again, huh?
Check in.
I don't know why we're doing ASMR whisper stuff, but it's kind of creepy. So on that note,
relax.
Insignia. Anyway. So dumb. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by. We look forward to seeing you next week. This has been the Battle Bros podcast. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you soon. Until then, take it easy.
Battle Bros out.